how do you know that your idea is actually a really good one, right? So we talked about some things last week about research and things you should do again to create that winning idea. But we're going to take a little bit deeper dive into some of those different aspects.
Out, uncompromised, 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 we uncompromised, uncompromised, we uncompromised, and I got it. Look, what does it take for you to be great? Keep it 100, bro, you know the answer. Pursuing your purpose, creating profits, building legacy. Anything less, how could you even fathom? Just sit back and imagine all that can truly happen when you pursue your passions. Yeah. So eliminate distractions and get back to that action. That's the law of attraction. You gotta build a team to build a dream. Family, faith, and focus. Counsel can only build a king. Are you prepared to reign? Cause whether you weather the weather won't change. Whether you weather the weather won't change. Stay true to the vision. Stay true to the mission. Gotta get to the finish. Take a moment to listen and come and see it through our eyes. We'll show you what it means to live uncompromised. We're uncompromised, 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 we're uncompromised, yeah. Uncompromised, uncompromised, we're uncompromised, yeah. Uncompromised, we're uncompromised, we're uncompromised, yeah. Uncompromised, uncompromised, you're uncompromised.
Welcome to the Uncompromising Entrepreneur Podcast, presented to you by the Uncompromising Coaching Group. Do you have an entrepreneurial spirit? Are you constantly thinking about how to create value and build new businesses? Are you trying to find innovative ways of doing business to replace old, outdated ones? If so, then Devon and I are here to talk to you. This is a show where we teach you what it takes to pursue purpose, create profits, and build a legacy. I am Jimmy Gonzalez Jr., and I am joined by my co-host, Devon Watts Jr.
Good people.
If you are a new listener, man, we thank you so much for stopping in and hanging out with us. Hopefully this is the first, but won't be the last. If you are a loyal listener, for all of you, again, thank you for rocking with us. Please feel free to rate and review this podcast. And if you're watching on our YouTube channel, we'd love for you to like this video and subscribe to our channel if you haven't done so already. And then share this with another entrepreneur that you know can benefit from this content, and specifically this episode, which is really going to be a callback or tie-in from our last episode when we were discussing, really how to go about creating a winning idea. We thought it would be cool and important to come back and then hit that from a different angle in regards to how do you know that your idea is actually a really good one, right? So we talked about some things last week about research and things you should do again to create that winning idea. But we're going to take a little bit deeper dive into some of those different aspects. So we're happy to be here. We feel like we have another outstanding episode for you, and Devon and I are ready to go. That's what I feel. That's what I say. What about you, D?
No, man, I'm absolutely ready to go. And I think it's, again, kind of funny. I mentioned, I think in the last episode, or maybe in a couple of different episodes, just how we are coaches and practitioners, right? And I think that's important to distinguish, especially when you're talking about entrepreneurial coaching, when you're talking about folks that are working with entrepreneurs on their craft. As a person that's seeking coaching or listening to us, you want to know that the things that we're talking about are not just theories, but the things that we've actually put into practice. And so it's just funny that while we're getting started right now, probably about 2 hours later than when we normally kick off, it's because the 2 hours prior to this, our pre-production was spent around executing on a great idea, coming up with an idea, and then actually implementing some of the things that we're going to be sharing with you all today on how do you know if you have a good idea, just through the power of collaboration and some of the things that we've been able to do. So I have an abundance of confidence and excitement to be able to get into this episode, because I know the things we're talking about, we literally just did right before we hit the record button. So it'll be really easy to pull from and to glean and to kind of share and impart that knowledge. So I can't wait to get to it, man.
Yeah. What I appreciate, about today's day and age, right, is that there's so many productivity apps. We talked about productivity apps, whether that's the Pomodoro technique, Engrossa, and a number of different apps that we use and we suggest, again, that you can use for yourself to help you with productivity and help you keeping on track. And there's, these apps that are out there that also help you to have your to-do list, take notes, like Evernote, Notes, Wunderlist are just a few. These things are always evolving and catering to a growing number of entrepreneurial and creative people who, at the least, make note of their ideas. Right? That's a start. That's a good thing, is making note of your ideas. But even if you do nothing with those ideas ever again, at least you have them written down somewhere, right? And maybe in the future you can come back to them and start to flesh those out. But the question is, like, what happens when you find yourself in a slump, right? Your business, your personal enjoyment may, to some extent, really rely on you being an ideas person. Devon and I, we are definitely kind of fall into that category. We have a lot of great ideas. At least we think they're great, but we do the research. We do the research, we flesh them out, but also realize that we can't do everything all at once, right? So that's also important. I'm not going to get into that in this episode, but you can have all these ideas, flesh them out, make sure that they're winning ideas, that they're good ideas, but then prioritize, what you're going to execute on first. But we have some ideas that we want to be able to share with you that we feel are going to help you really drag your creativity from that hiding place that's like deep down in your soul and out into the great wide open, so that you can use it, prioritize it, and execute on those ideas. So we got 3, again, ideas that we're going to share for you on how to go about and doing that. So the first one that we're going to jump into is really the idea of spending time around different people. What are your thoughts on that, Devon?
So it's important because when you just think about the spectrum of personalities that exist in the world, it's so diverse, right? Like the general population is just made up of so many different types of people from different walks of life. And while most of us are fairly consistent or average in our day-to-day processes, there are always those outliers that exist that we can learn from, we can glean from, we can leverage in order to validate an idea that we may have, or to gain inspiration from when it comes to creating in those ideas. And it's really important, when you think about the different folks that exist out there from all different types of walk of life, like, how do you expose yourself to those different perspectives? I know our listeners may recall we talked about recently our alpha test that we've been facilitating for our Purpose to Profits app with the handful of selected, hand-picked entrepreneurs who have started a business, or they have the idea around a business, so they're in different stages of the entrepreneurial journey. And how we found a tremendous amount of value, they found a tremendous amount of value from the facilitated brainstorming activities that we did as a group, where they got to hear from folks that are not in their industry, providing ideas on how they can elevate their business and take it to the next level. You had individuals who were maybe solopreneurs, you had individuals who came from a real estate background, or maybe a life coaching, therapy type background, talking with individuals that come from a music creation or music production type background, exchanging ideas on how they can elevate their business, differentiate their business, take their service offering to the next level, their business model to the next level. And that only happens when you expose yourself to these different personalities. It's not intuitive, for example, for one of the gentlemen who's a producer,
designer and just kind of song creator, for them to seek out somebody in the real estate business for ideas on like, hey, what can I do in order to help shore up my production credentials and my business acumen when it comes to contracts? And you don't intuitively think about that. But what we found is that there's just a wealth of experience, knowledge, and shared challenges that it makes sense to have that type of exchange. And so our challenge to you, our listeners, is don't solely limit yourself to being surrounded by other individuals that are in the same tribe as you or the same industry as you. There's an abundance of value in doing that for sure, because you're able to glean from best practices and what's working there. But don't be afraid to venture out into some other spaces and meet folks from different types of backgrounds, walks of life, perspectives, seeking advice or input on what your idea or your business. And especially if you're looking to ultimately connect with or sell to an individual that may not be from the background that you're in. Like I think about us, for example. Obviously, in this coaching space, when we run across other individuals who understand what it means to be a entrepreneurial coach or a life coach or some type of coach, and we share with them a bit of what we've been building out or what we're doing, we get all of the support and embracing and admiration and positive reinforcement, which is great. But at the end of the day, they're not the individuals that we're looking to connect with and sell to, right? They obviously see tremendous value because they're going down this walk with themselves. Where the feedback has been the most valuable is seeking out individuals that may be potential clients that know nothing about this coaching industry, but when we share with them our experiences or what we're building, or hey, if somebody were to come to you with something like this, right, would that be of value to you? Or if you had an app in your phone at the touch of a finger, what type of content would you want to see in there that would resonate for you if you were trying to become an entrepreneur? That's where the value is. And so surrounding yourself with those different perspectives can be a key to affirming your ideas and unlocking the potential in your good idea and making it great at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's so important, again, to surround yourself with different types of individuals. That doesn't mean, like, you hear somewhat of a saying, right? To put yourself in a space where you're around like-minded individuals. I think that's very important. And there's so many communities online and offline. I think of the community that I'm involved with, Deeper Than the Brand, and communities I found on social media like Instagram. There's communities within different apps like Clubhouse, right? You can go onto Clubhouse and as you spend time and you engage, you can find communities that you can start to really engage with on a consistent basis and learn from those individuals. So even when I think about our community, right, what we're building out, and we're getting very close for our uncompromising family out there. When this episode drops, it's going to be right around the corner, and your opportunity to really truly become part of our uncompromising entrepreneur community, and have more access to Devon and myself, but also you as our listeners, as our viewers, as our uncompromising family, be able to engage with each other. And again, be with like-minded people, but folks that are from all different walks of life, different experiences, again, that we will be able to grow together and learn from. It's just so important to spend time around different people. Zig Ziglar once said, right, that we're the results of the 5 people that we spend the most time with. So the more diverse company you keep, the more open-minded you're going to be to different ideas from those individuals. So we're looking forward to that. Again, I know that we've seen the benefit of not just having a partnership, but again, being a part of broader communities. There's still websites like meetup.com and again, places where you're finding these groups online, but then offline, even if you're just a member of your local commerce. Again, there's different things exactly that you can do, your chamber of commerce that you can be a part of, to put yourself around other people that maybe be thinking about similar things, but again, they can be in a totally different industry, have totally different ideas that you can bounce off of each other and benefit each other. So the more diverse company you keep, again, the more open-minded you will be about these different ideas, which are going to be nothing but a benefit to you, to your business, and even to the people that you're looking to serve through your business and your products.
Yeah, the last thing I'll say about it, and then we can transition to the kind of the second point here. But when you keep a more diverse company, you also get exposed to more diverse problems. And as an entrepreneur, that's where the kind of the breeding ground is for ideas in your next business venture. It's when you're exposed to different problems that may exist out there that you may not even be aware of, that starts to stimulate the creative juices, and you start trying to figure out ways to solve that. Like, I know you and I have both shared our experiences, like when we travel, even if it was with just family. And we're going to a new place, and we may be on vacation, but we get exposed to something new that we don't normally get exposed to when we're at home. And naturally, all the questions just start coming because we hear a problem, right? And it's, oh yeah, I'm a guide, right? I'm a tour guide, but I'm dealing with this, dealing with, man, people hardly ever show up, and then all of a sudden, like without even thinking about it, instinctively, we're like, okay, well, what is your process for signups? What's your process for confirmations? How many folks are supporting the business? How do you boost productivity? How do you get more out of your time? What is your price point? How do you gauge your price points? What relationships do you have with the vendors that you're taking people? Like, all of those questions naturally come to mind, and our creative juices start to flow, and we start thinking of solutions to new problems that we didn't know existed. And so as an entrepreneur, we are wired instinctively to solve problems. So when you start to keep a more diverse company and you get exposed to new problems, that also means you're spurring new solutions and potentially new business ventures for you. So that's another benefit of surrounding yourself with as many diverse people as possible.
So, to our uncompromising entrepreneurs out there, again, we are really trying to break down for you, how do you know your idea is good? And we have a couple of ideas that we want to share for you that we think are going to help. So the first one was spending time around different people that will challenge your thoughts, provide additional thoughts and things that maybe you've never thought of yourself. The other idea that we want to share is the idea of just learning more. So, how do I know that my idea is a good one? Well, go through the process of learning more. And I know, Devon, you had some specific points you wanted to share.
Yeah, so obviously you all have heard us mention before that earners are learners, right? Earners are learners. So there's a wealth of resources that are available to you when we're talking about going on that learning journey. And it's not just limited to the traditional things that you think about, like, yeah, you can go and you can Google stuff. Absolutely, you can go, to your local bookstore. You can go to the library. I don't hear a lot of people talking about that, but that information is available to you. That is a resource that exists that you have access to. And I'm sure Elena would be proud to hear us shout out the value of a library. Jimmy's daughter, who's studying to be a librarian. But you can do that, but where you really find the unlocking the ability to learn is when you can incorporate learning into an everyday part of your normal habits and journey. And so I think about how often we leverage social media and different technology from that perspective. Like, I'm on IG like crazy. I'm on Twitter like crazy. Like, those are the communities that I typically gravitate to. And what I've started to do over this past 2 years or so is create the habit of not just using these social media platforms for what I traditionally use them for, to connect and to engage with people that I care for, to send funny memes, to find a laugh, to find a break from whatever I'm dealing with for the day. But I also have added it to my arsenal of learning tools. And what I mean by that is I will go on Twitter and I will search for a topic that's related to a business venture that we're exploring. because I want to see what is the collective mind of folks that are on social media. What are they talking about? What are they sharing as it relates to the specific subject? The same with Instagram, right? Like, how do I get on Instagram and start searching specific hashtags that may be related to content creation, coaching, real estate, crypto, when we're going down the path of, potentially investing, and having a minority stake in a barber shop, right? So barbershops and just, all of those things, and seeing what is in the space, what is being said, what is kind of the dialogue, and then, what can I learn from that? And you'll be surprised the wealth of threads that you run across, like all of these different forms of micro learnings, as I kind of call it, where, it's, a tweet thread and maybe about two or three tweets, or maybe, up to 5, breaking down specific steps. Like, it'll be somebody saying, hey, I've started a startup, and we're getting our first round of seed funding, and we were able to close our first round with $100 million valuation, and by doing these 5 things. And then they will share in short form those 5 things that they did, and then point you in the direction of maybe a broader article, or if you want to know more, you can engage. But those things can be extremely powerful, right? And so it doesn't always involve just sitting down and reading a book. It could be leveraging these things that you already use and being intentional about leveraging these tools to their full capacity. Right, to their full capacity. You hear people talk about how the human, as humans, we don't use 100% of our mental potential. Right, we only use the X% of our brain. Well, the same is true of the collective brain that is the internet. Like, when you go on, really ask yourself as you're listening to this, when you go on and you pull up your browser, what things do you typically search for? Are you consistently searching for the same things? There's probably like a handful of websites that I consistently go to, right? CNN, ESPN, Canva, our podcast website for our content, and then various like learning places, right? One of my favorite right now is edx.org. It's basically a repository of a bunch of micro learning courses and certifications that you can get on any different subject in the world, whether it's business, philosophy, whatever the case may be. I highly recommend folks check that out. But really think about that. Like, are you limited to just those websites that you typically go to? No. So how can you build on that? How can you be intentional about unlocking the full potential of the resources that are available to you? And we talk a little bit about this when we talk about researching, but I just really want to drive that point home, that be intentional about your learning as an entrepreneur. Exposing yourself to different things is going to be critically important, so that you can add more tools to your arsenal, and ultimately help you to create better ideas in the future. Because as you get exposed to different trains of thoughts, it can maybe spur different solutions. It can maybe spur different questions. And the question is the gateway to a new answer, right? And so if you find yourself continuing to bump into different questions, or be inspired to think about different questions, you're probably on a good path when it comes to learning and expanding your learning potential.
Yeah, facts. So we're talking about, how do you know that your idea is truly a good idea, right? The first idea that we wanted to share with you, again, is spending time around different people, learning more, reading more, spending that time doing research. And as Yvonne just mentioned, there's so many different areas, even on your own phone, as you're going through social media, that you can not just find entertainment, but actually learn. And yes, learners are earners, right? And we always say that readers are leaders. It's always still good to read, whether you're reading tweets, whether you're reading something on a blog, like on our website, uncompromisingcoaches.com, or even this book, right, that I picked up. This book that I have here is called Launch. So as we get ready for what's around the corner, we thought, all right, I have this idea that we should really go through a process to launch this community that we have. Well, that's not necessarily something, or at least using a specific process is something that I've done before. So no, I wanted to learn more about that, right? So I found me some books, a specific book, and start reading. Going through that process of reading, learning more, implementing, again, all of those things are really going to help you to really figure out, okay, is this idea that I have truly a good idea? The other thing, we're talking about reading, we're talking about spending time around different types of people. The other idea that we want to share with you is to actually write more, right? So as you have all of these ideas going on, again, we talked at the very beginning, right, that there's so many apps available to you. You know, maybe you're the type of person that keeps a notebook, by your bed on your nightstand. I know, Devon, you've talked about just finding inspiration at different times. And maybe you're waking up in the middle of the night and you're able to write things down because you're dreaming and you're having these thoughts and these ideas. You've told stories about, being in a meeting, and all of a sudden you're talking business stuff, but an idea comes to you and having to quickly write those things down. It could be as easy as, hitting the voice recorder on your phone, or like I do, most of the time is opening up the notes within my phone and typing my ideas in there so I can save them in that particular place. And you can always, whether you're putting voice notes and voice recordings, you can categorize those or actually have a specific title of, winning ideas. And then as those ideas come to you, you can again put those in that notes section within your phone and in that specific app. But it's just so important to get all of these ideas out of your head and put them in a spot where you can then review them, go through them, especially if you're going to be going into or doing a brainstorming session like we talked about in the last episode. That's one of the things that you can do is just dump all these ideas out, have the people in your inner circle that are part of this brainstorming session do the same thing, and then begin to sift through the ideas, prioritize those ideas, and maybe even build off as you combine some ideas together to really make something better than what you thought of or what you had at the very beginning.
Yeah, so I love a couple of things that you touched on because you're right. One, the importance of being able to write it down and capture the idea like in the moment. You never know when inspiration is going to hit you, when that idea is going to pop in. And the last thing you want to do is lose track of it because you didn't capture it, and then you get inundated with different things, and next thing you know, you're like, man, what was that again? It's on the tip of my tongue. There's nothing more frustrating than not being able to recall that moment of inspiration and specifically what it was so that you can eventually build off of it. So writing it in notes, voice recorder. I've done it all. I've emailed myself. We actually, one of our listeners, Dr. Sunil, actually, commented and mentioned that one of the things he likes to do is actually text himself, and he will pin the text chat between himself like at the top of his messages. So like whenever he goes into his messages is the first thing he sees, and it's just a reminder, right? He's basically communicating with his future self, which I thought was a good practice. But then the other point that you bring up is like the power of collaboration. I know I shared with our audience a little bit insight into our pre-production meeting where we repurpose that to continue to do some work around the eventual app launch and all the things that we've been working on and building. And to me, that was just a case study in collaboration as, we were talking about different ideas and we need to do this in order to get ready for launch. And all right, well, we're getting ready to run this specific ad. And what about these type of surveys that we have out there? And well, how can we modify that? How can we do A/B testing? What if we did something like this? And it's that ping pong of the ideas, the synergy, and then, I know we've all probably at one point played this game in at least English class. I know I did maybe 10th grade English or something like that, where as a creative writing exercise, the teacher would have you start off with a writing prompt. You would write a sentence and you pass the paper on to somebody. Everybody's just passing it along, and the next person would add the next sentence in the story. Until eventually your paper comes back around to you, and then you have this fully fleshed out story comprised of the thoughts and ideas of everybody that has contributed to the story, and they've taken the sentence that preceded them, or the sentences that preceded them, and used that to launch into their next addition to the story. And I always found those things to be wildly entertaining, especially because at the end of the day, maybe however you started the story is not where the story ends up landing. And there may be twists and turns and perspectives that you're like, man, I wasn't even remotely even thinking about that. That's actually funny enough. That technique to some extent ended up becoming my preferred method of collaborating from a songwriting perspective, because as I've shared with our listeners before, I have experience doing that and writing songs for other individuals. And that would be one of the things I would enjoy the most, is getting into the studio, talking to the artist, trying to understand what their perspective is, and then collaborating. And maybe I make the first pass at the song, and then it's, all right, what do you think? I got the first 4 bars. Like, this is where I'm thinking, oh, we should add this. Oh, you should add this. And we're both contributing to the creation of this story. And then at the end of the day, the output is, a marriage of our ideas and something greater than either one of us could have come up with sonically and creatively individually. And so we were absolutely able to do that in pre-production. And so I strongly recommend for our entrepreneurs out there, like, as you start to formulate some of these ideas, don't be afraid if you can't get to the end of the story. Maybe your job is to provide the initial creative prompt and reach out to somebody, partner with somebody else, and get their perspective, and then allow them to add to the story, and then continue to build that way. And it could be something way more greater, way more creative, way more inspirational than you were even imagining possible based off of your initial start, your initial sentence, right? Your initial idea. And so, yeah, collaboration is definitely a super, super powerful tool, secret weapon, when you talk about really growing your idea from good to great, and ensuring that that idea ultimately is going to be a good one, a great one, because you're always also having that real-time feedback loop as you collaborate.
Yeah. What I don't want to do too is kind of be too cryptic, because really some of the things that we were collaborating on really have to do with the quizzes that we've been working on and creating. So if you haven't done the first quiz yet, definitely suggest you do. We'll go ahead and put the links in the show notes itself. If you go to our website, uncompromisingcoaches.com, you'll see a prompt pop up. Do you have what it takes to actually start your business? That's the test that we've been providing to our uncompromising family out there to help you out and give you some direction. There's also a free ebook that you get once you go ahead and take that quiz. The next one that we're going to be launching, again, it will be in these show notes as well, is what's your entrepreneur archetype, right? So when you think about, there's a host, right, of different celebrity entrepreneurs and business people that we know out there in the world. But this quiz is really going to kind of help you really uncover your strengths, as a boss, as a leader, as an entrepreneur, and really clear up some things and really help you kick your entrepreneur journey into that next level, into that next gear. So we were thinking and talking and collaborating on ideas about that and how to enhance the experience for you as a learner, as a participant through that experience itself. So we're excited about that. Again, we definitely want you to take advantage of that. Go into the show notes. You'll have that available, again, as a gift from us. And hopefully, again, learn, right? That was one of our suggestions. So we're talking about, how do you know if your idea is a good idea? Well, the first one, again, ideas that we wanted to share with you is spend time around different people. Number 2, learn more. We gave you a host of different ways to go about doing that, and we're even giving you quizzes to help you learn more about yourself and, if you're ready, what kind of entrepreneur that you are, so you have a much greater understanding of your foundation as you start to take and build off of those steps. Write things down. Make sure that you are capturing your ideas, but you're also going through activities that allow you to build off of those ideas once you've captured them, again, to ensure that this is really a good idea, or the best idea after you've collaborated, shared, you've grown, and built off of those ideas again to really make it truly a winning idea. It's going to allow you to find entrepreneur success, help more people scale your business, whatever it is that you're trying to do based upon where you're at in your entrepreneur journey. Again, these ideas that we've shared with you are going to help you do just that. So hopefully those were definitely of value to you, to all of our uncompromising entrepreneurs out there. Again, man, we thank you so much for listening. We thank you for watching as well. Please show us some love. We definitely would appreciate you commenting, liking, and sharing. If you want to reach out to us, again, you can go to the website, uncompromisingcoaches.com. If you'd like to set up a consultation, I don't even want to call it a consultation, but just really talking about a game plan, we'd be more than happy to do that with you. You can always reach out to us via email, info@uncompromisingcoaches.com. If you have questions that you would like us to email you about and talk about, or even questions that you would like us to discuss on the podcast itself, again, we love to hear that from you. Go ahead, put, podcast questions in the subject line. And again, we'd love to chop it up with you and get more information and more feedback from you from that perspective as well. Stay tuned for the next episode. We are going to be rounding out. We're getting close, y'all. The end of season 3 is coming upon us. We're going to have a special MBA Mentored by Adversity installment. We've been talking about our alpha tests and the gentlemen that we have been working with over the last few months. We're going to be getting them together kind of for a final roundtable and asking them questions about their journey over the last 3 to 4 months. And we're going to be able to break that down between Devon and myself and share some of that experience with you and allow you to hear from them. You heard from Henry in our last MBA installment, but you're going to be able to hear, again, not just from Henry a little bit more, but from the other gentlemen that we have been working with as well. So stay tuned for that. You're not going to want to miss that. And that's going to lead us, that's going to be episode 69. That will lead us to the very last episode, which should be dropping December 1st. So we are forecasting out, right? But December 1st, will be Devon and I really talking about why you should have a coach and what to look for and why it's important to have a coach. But we have so many great things around the corner. Again, be on the lookout. You're not going to want to miss some of the great things that we have to allow you to build with us, to grow with us, and be a part of our Purpose to Profits community. Again, you're not going to want to miss that. Be on the lookout as we get closer and closer to that very special Friday in November. Y'all know what I'm talking about. It's going to be fun. That week is going to be filled of family, food, and football. But then we got something special for y'all because y'all are our family, and we want you to be, again, even that much more in sync with us. Share, grow, learn together. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be exciting. So that is it from myself. Again, Coach Jimmy G and my homeboy, my best friend, partner, Devon Watts, also known as Leadership Docent. You can find him on Instagram. Coach Me Jimmy G on Instagram as well. As always, y'all, God bless. Stay encouraged. You have just listened to the Uncompromising Entrepreneur Podcast, hosted by Jimmy Gonzalez and Devon Watts. Thank you, and we hope that you pursue your passion, create profits, and build a legacy. Until next time, y'all.